Fox Court TV Live, along with Julia Janae, I'm Ted Rollins. We are heading back to Georgia now, where testimony is back underway after the lunch break in the burn pile murder trial for defendant Melanie Farris.
And Farris, of course, is facing multiple charges, including malice murder. This all in the death of her attorney husband, Gary Farris, prominent attorney in the Atlanta area. Investigators believe that Melanie killed Gary and then burned his remains on their property.
Let's head back into the courtroom now. On the stand, first witness since after the lunch break has taken the stand, crime scene technician Lieutenant Melanie Thrasher.
Whatever you say.
So in this case, I think one of the things you did is at the scene, all the evidence was kind of brought to you, and y'all transported it back to the sheriff's office.
At the time, yes. So that over the first day, it ran into the second day early in the morning. So at that time, anything that was collected, most things that were collected to that point, Rachel Eckert and I brought it back for storage.
So if something was found by an officer, they would bring it to y'all. Y'all would make sure it was properly packaged or whatnot, and then bring it back to the sheriff's office and log it in and do that part.
Correct.
So I think y'all did, is it true y'all did all the evidence except for the remains and the tractors and the side-by-side? Correct. And so all the other evidence is basically given to y'all and y'all transport back?
Yes.
And then is the evidence, as it was in this case, was it sent to some of it sent to the GBI and tested?
Yes.
And then at times you would go pick things up and bring it back from the GBI, or they would bring it back?
Correct.
And when after you got out of working evidence or property, as sometimes it's referred to, what made you want to get into what I call the CSI aspect?
I am a very curious person, so I like knowing how things work. I like helping solve problems. It was just very intriguing to me, all the various aspects of what goes into the investigation. I am also an avid photographer, and that's a big part of a crime scene.
And you and I have had several cases together where you've testified. And would you classify yourself as a big talker or more of a quiet person?
I think you can tell already I'm not a big talker.
Kind of introverted?
Yes.
Thank you for your testimony. You do great. What do you have to do to qualify to be, first of all, what does it mean to be post-certified?
I'm not post-certified, so I can't get that completely correct, but there's training, and then the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council.
You don't have arrest powers, right?
I do not.
So a fully post-certified officer would have arrest powers?
Yes.
And you do not have that? You just work for the sheriff's office as a crime scene technician?
I do.
So you can't go put handcuffs on somebody and arrest them or anything like that?
Oh, not at all.
With your personality and your training, are you the one that goes and interviews people and do things like that?
No, not at all.
You stick to the property, the scene, the evidence?
I like being behind the scenes.
And what type of training have you had to do your job specifically related to crime scene reconstruction or crime scene investigations or crime scene processing crime scenes?
The state of Georgia the post council is the one that has the standards, but they require it's 224 hours of training, such things as bloodstain pattern analysis. There's 3 different types of fingerprint classes, general crime scene investigation, photography. So those are the main ones. Additionally, in 2022, I went to the National Forensic Academy in Tennessee, which was 400 more hours. And
400? What'd you do there?
Some of those similar classes, but expanded. I've also had 2 classes of shooting reconstruction. I've had a couple of anthropology classes of excavating bodies, some other minor courses.
Do you find your job at times challenging or
Absolutely.
Or complicated at times or rewarding?
Yes.
Now, these classes that you take, are they just kind of, if you're present, you pass, everybody gets the trophy type thing?
No, bloodstain pattern analysis and shooting reconstruction have a lot of science behind them as far as physics goes and things like that. So There is some technicalities to it that you definitely need to understand.
So there are standards and things you have to
Yes.
live up to. Do you know Lieutenant Stewart?
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you about him under oath per se, but good guy. You work with him.
Yes.
Lieutenant Ballard.
Yes.
Let's see. I guess it was it Sergeant or Lieutenant Shaw at the time?
Sergeant.
And then I think you said also Rachel Eckert, who is now in Florida, used to work with you.
Yes.
And were y'all kind of working, you and Rachel at times, working together and doing stuff?
Yes, we were.
And then they would work together, y'all kind of floating between people at times?
Yes.
But you had certain responsibilities in this case, right?
I did.
I want to turn your attention now to July 5th, that Thursday, 2018. Do you remember about what time you got out at the scene?
Approximately 3:20 p.m.
And do you remember how you got there?
I was tasked with going and getting our big crime scene truck, so I drove it to the scene.
You don't have a police patrol vehicle or anything like that? Is a crime scene
At the
unit
time,
truck?
I did not. Yeah.
What is in this vehicle that you drove out there?
It just contains generally all the things we could possibly need. So any test kits, equipment, things like that.
And when you got out to the scene, what do you remember seeing when you first got out there?
It was a very bucolic setting. It was very pretty, reminiscent of where I used to work. Horses. I saw the barn across the field. Came up to the house, parked, very nicely landscaped.
Were you surprised to be working a murder there?
Yes.
When you first arrived, what level or what stage were you at and what type of investigation was going on?
There were quite a few personnel there, but Rachel and I were very new, so we were tagging along behind Lieutenant Ballard and Sergeant Shaw. So we followed them to the back of the house just to do a cursory preview, and the area had been cordoned off with tape.
Did you go out to the burn pit?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was like?
It was still smoldering a little bit. I was told it was still hot. I couldn't tell you for sure who determined that. But it didn't appear to have much left that was unburned.
Was the task for the crime scene technicians, was it broken up to certain kind of divide and conquer things at the scene?
Yes.
I think Lieutenant Stewart was doing like the barn and the tractor, and then other people were at the burn pile. I think Shaw was there. What were you tasked with doing?
Once we determined that we were going to wait on the state anthropologist to come assist, I was tasked with photographing the exterior and interior of the residence, just taking overall photos.
A couple of the things we're going to talk about. So you took outside photographs, is that right?
Yes.
And then at some point you went inside to help process, I think, kind of from the kitchen, the basement door to the steps.
Yes.
And then there's some, what I'm calling some blood trails or blood droppings down in the basement that you were, the stairs themselves and also in the basement floor.
Correct.
And then you helped package everything and transport everything. And I believe, for the most part, I think you came back another day and would collect a bunch of cartridge casings and things like that.
That was well after the time period.
But I believe like almost a year later, a little over a year later, you came back and collected some firearms, ammunition, and other things there.
Yes.
And that was on the back side of the property, is that right?
Yes, the northwest corner, I believe.
Now, did you have, I've got, you know how we're marking the evidence, it's going to be your last name by number and going through. Did you have an opportunity to meet with me a couple times and look at all your photographs?
Yes.
And all the photographs that we went over, including photographs, we'll talk about that, were not at the time of the scene, but shows how the house, the furniture in the house, and then sometimes some photographs without furniture in it. In other words, things that were online that showed how the house looked with furniture and without furniture.
Yes.
Alice says, Thrasher 1 through 288. Did you have an opportunity, are all those fair and accurate photographs as you know it to be in this case?
Yes.
So at this time, I'm going to turn to evidence Thrasher 1 through Thrasher 288.
All right, any objections? All right. They admitted?
You can either look at these or they're admitted. There's something on the screen too, so I'll put them over there in case you want to look at it. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. What I plan to do is kind of walk through the evidence, but arrange in such a way that we can kind of talk about it as we go. But this is Thrasher 1. Tell us what we're seeing here.
As you come in the driveway from the road, this would be your first view of the house.
Thrasher 2, this pine tree in the middle, can you kind of point to the front door of the residence? Or just is it, I'll move my mouse, is it right here?
Yes.
Thrasher 3, if you're standing on that main floor, that deck that has that round part to it, is this what you would be looking at?
Yes, looking towards the barn.
Thrasher 4, what do we have here?
I believe, that's from the front door looking out.
Lieutenant Thrasher, an admitted avid photographer, showing this jury now the sprawling estate that was owned by the defendant.
She could work and do homes. Everything's beautifully framed.
Absolutely. We are hitting the pause button. You're not going to miss a moment. We'll get you back in for more testimony in the burn pile murder trial for Melanie Farris.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, prosecutors say she shot her husband and burned his remains on their property. We'll bring you key moments from today's testimony in the burn pile murder trial.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
You chose the place. You chose the victim. Back of the head, execution style.
Welcome back. We are watching the burn pile murder trial happening in Georgia for defendant Melanie Walker Farris. She's charged with murdering her husband, Gary, who was a prominent attorney in Atlanta. And she's also accused of burning his remains on their property.
Right now, we're watching testimony from a crime scene tech, Lieutenant Melanie Thrasher, who's also an avid photographer, and the quality of her photos comes through. Let's go back into the courtroom and watch.
Opening that front door, this is Thrasher 5. If I'm standing there and looking at this photograph 5, what is in front of us here?
As you walk in the door, that's your first view, is the stairs that go up, or the stairs to upstairs.
If I was standing there and I took a step to the right, what am I going to see?
The kitchen.
And if I took a step to the left, what would I see?
There's a short hallway to a guest bath, and then there's a mudroom and a laundry room.
And then those doors right there, halfway down that wall, what is that area there?
It was at the time sort of a library room.
And if I walked down that hallway to the back of the house, would I go to the master bedroom?
Yes.
6, just looking back to the front door.
Correct.
7, just looking at the angle going towards the kitchen where a kitchen table is going to be. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
8, what's this here?
Looking back from the front wall of the house towards the kitchen, and then into a family room type area past the kitchen.
If I was standing in this photograph, as it appears, and I would walk left, would I be walking to the front door?
Yes.
Now, orient that there's a fireplace on that far wall down there, is that right?
Yes.
Now, going to that fireplace and standing, is this the view you would see in 8, excuse me, yes, 9, looking back?
Correct.
Kind of moving the fireplaces to my back to the left, is this another view? So you see there's other doors going out to the other side of the house?
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure technically if you drive up the driveway and go through, if you could drive through the garage, that's kind of, to me, is kind of north. So you got the east side, which is the pond on, and the west side. But both sides of this house had a deck, is that right?
Yes.
The one over the pond is round, the other one's not.
Correct.
All right, looking at 11, where we're standing here, if I walk down this hallway, would the library or study room be on my right?
Yes.
And then was the door here to the left that's open? Where's that lead to?
That goes down to the basement.
Where this is at, I have the mouse, the hand. Did you find what you believe to be blood or blood droppings?
Yes, on the just closest to where the landing ends before you go downstairs.
And I believe there are about 12 steps down. There's a landing, you turn right, then 4 steps down. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell the jury what you found, what type of blood evidence or evidence you found on those steps.
It appeared to be blood that possibly was attempted to be, or someone tried to clean it up, possibly. It was very dilute looking.
And then once you got on the floor down below, is this the basement where there's a bar?
Yes.
Now, if I walked out the steps and stood off the steps, the bar's in front of you,
Yes.
and then kind of to the right is the living room area.
Yes.
This is Thrasher 13. If I'm standing what I call those the American doors, that kind of just slide like this.
Yes.
You know I call them the American doors. If you slide, if I'm standing in front of those doors looking back to the steps, is the steps right here where this pointer is?
Correct.
And then this hallway, if you went down that, would that have been Gary's bedroom?
Correct.
And if you came down this hallway, it would lead to his office,
And the media room.
media room, movie room.
Yes.
Now standing, number 14, if I'm standing kind of at the steps, this is the area here that we're going to be talking about?
Yes. I had a couch and chair.
Now this is from the internet for the house, but this is Thrasher 15. At the bottom of this photograph, what is here that I've got the pointer on?
The garage.
And then there's I guess a mud room and laundry room you're referring to?
Yes.
Pours the front door here.
Correct.
So standing in the front door again, you turn right, goes to what area?
The kitchen area.
If you turn left, comes down to, I think there's a bathroom here.
Yes.
Walk down hallway. What do we have here?
The study or library.
You go up the steps and go to the second floor.
Correct.
Deck on this left side if you're facing the front door, is that right?
Yes.
Deck on the right side, the big circular deck.
Yes.
Is this where the fireplace is?
Yes.
As I go with the mouse, if you're walking along that deck, you could go and there's a door here. It goes into the master bedroom.
Correct.
Say 16. This is the second floor.
Correct.
Come up the steps. You have to kind of turn around 180. And then basically on this level, is there 2 main bedrooms?
Yes.
One room here, then another room, and then a bathroom. Is that right?
Correct.
Thrasher 17, when we're looking at the floor plans of the basement, let me. Coming down the 12 steps, you hang around and go down the 4 here to the landing, is that right?
Yes.
Walk up a little bit, and then you kind of go to the right, and there's, in this picture it says recreation room, but is this where the Farrises had the couches and things like that?
Yes, there was a TV in there too.
This bedroom was where Gary's bedroom was at?
Yes.
CPAP machine was in there?
Yes.
All right, we're hitting the pause button on this testimony. More photos from this crime scene, according to the prosecution in the case against Melanie Farris. After this, stay with us. Welcome back to Court TV Live, I'm Julia Janae. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon as we follow several trials here at Court TV. We're in Florida, where all the evidence has now been entered in the home renovation murder trial for Corey Bendrum. The defense called 2 brief witnesses earlier today. Then they rested after Bendrum informed the court he would not be testifying.
Mr. Bendrum, have you had enough time to meet with your lawyers regarding whether or not you wish to testify?
Yes,
Have they answered all of your questions about that to your satisfaction?
absolutely.
Do you need any more time?
Yes.
Have you made a decision of whether you would testify or not? And what is that decision?
That was.
Has anybody threatened you or coerced you into making that decision?
Yes.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to make that decision?
Yes.
Are you making that decision to not testify freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Court is closed for the rest of the week due to the impending hurricane in that area. Closing arguments are now set for Monday morning. We are also in Georgia. Day 2 of testimony is underway in the burn pile murder trial for defendant Melanie Farris, accused of fatally shooting her husband in the basement of their home and then burning his body in a burn pit on their property. But the defense points to what they say are flaws in the investigation. They question how Farris could have moved her 300-pound husband from the basement into the yard and onto that pit. So now we're going to get back into court. Crime scene technician has been walking the jury through photos of this property, and we're eventually going to get to those crime scene photos.
Here it says workshop, but it was his office.
Correct.
French doors here.
Yes.
Go back to the living room area, the American doors or the sliding open doors here.
Yes.
And for reference, starting at the kitchen, down the steps, all the steps, and then there's going to be blood at the corner leading out into this area, you believe?
Yes.
That was facts, not evidence, Jim. All right.
I'll rephrase. When you come down the steps here,
Yes.
was there anything leading from this area to this area?
Yes, there were what appeared to be drops of blood.
And then this area, do you end up finding something collecting it?
Yes, there was a projectile.
$18, is that just a picture of the house?
Correct.
19, another picture?
Yes.
20, front door?
Yes.
21, garage?
Yes.
22, front door again?
Yes.
23, showing the porch going around to the master bedroom?
Yes.
24, a view looking in the pond?
Correct.
25, looking back to the barn?
Yes.
26, this is looking back towards the house from over the pond, is that right?
Yes.
27,
Barn.
28, inside the barn?
Yes.
29, inside the main house, the walking in the front door, seeing the stairs?
Yes.
30, is this the master bedroom?
Yes.
Notice the doors here that
Right.
walk out to the balcony, is that right?
Yes.
Master bathroom?
Yes.
Keep going around. Now this is the bedroom upstairs, the main bedroom.
Correct.
Then what I'm calling the kids' bedroom, the other guest bedroom upstairs.
Correct.
Bathroom. 37, library.
Yes.
38, I guess the dining room.
Yes.
39, the other dining room. 40, the other deck.
Correct.
41, 42, the kitchen.
Yes.
Going back down to the basement. And was this, these are pictures that were online, but was this how the house was mainly furnished when you were there?
Yes, generally speaking.
Now, Thrasher 47, we're getting into photographs that you took on July 5th, 2018, is that right?
Correct.
All right, tell the jury what we're seeing here. So this is when you're at the scene, do you do this first or do you do other stuff first?
Typically we do a brief walkthrough just to get, information from whomever was first responders is what typically happens. So we had walked around the back first, and then I came back and started photographing once tasked to do that.
And this is the first one, I think, in your series, 47,
Yes.
48, 49. And what do we have down here? What type of livestock can you tell?
I think it's goats. Goats, looks like. I don't recall the goats from the time period, but they made it in my picture. So.
All right. 50, what is this?
The front door, leading to the front door.
51, you're going to be walking, I guess, around the east side of the house. 52, 53, 54, 55, 6, 7, 58 now to the other side.
Yes.
59, 60. Picture of, what's 61?
They had a chicken coop. It had storage too, I believe.
And then 67 is showing a walkway down to the basement area.
Yes.
Did you have information of where Gary was living in the house and where the defendant was living in the house?
I believe I was informed of that prior to going in, but I couldn't tell you exactly who may have passed that information along.
All right, 68, this is a picture of the stairs.
Yes.
This is, if you walk in the front door and turn left, is this what we would see?
Yes.
And what is that down at the end? I think it's in the next picture, just a bathroom?
Yes.
Now, if you're standing at the front door and you turn right, is this the view that we see in 71?
Yes.
Now, go and stand where you're at in 71 and kind of look to the kitchen. Is this how the house appeared? This is the state of the house when you came on July 5th?
Correct.
Opulent, lots of stuff there, nice things.
Very nice.
73, still the kind of kitchen area.
Yes.
74, looking back to the front door. Uh, 78, I noticed you got a dog in the picture there.
I did.
Yeah. 79. So we just walked through the house. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary on the first level there?
Just the blood droplet at the top of the stairs.
Now we're going to move upstairs. No, this will be the master bedroom.
That's on the main floor, yeah.
Okay.
That's the
So let me
master.
back up to Thrasher 94. We're standing at the door, looking into the master bedroom. Is that right?
Yes,
The bed in the room,
correct.
the door,
Out to the porch.
and then going around the room back to the door.
Yes.
We going into the bathroom now.
Yes.
Now 108 around the back deck.
Yes.
111, this is outside of the master bedroom.
Yes. Yes. It's upstairs.
Beginning of 115, we're going into, what room is this we're going to be looking at?
That's sort of a mud room. The door there leads into the garage, and then to the right is where the laundry room was.
So 115, that's the garage door.
Yes.
If I step down off this step here and turn right, this is the washroom.
Yes.
And is this the state that you found things when you took photographs,
Yes.
including what was inside that?
Correct.
On states 116. The towels or whatnot in there. 117, door there. Just in the same area as all
yes, yeah.
And then station 125, where are we at now?
In the garage.
Do you know this vehicle to be any of the people involved?
I think I was told it may have been Ms. Farris's vehicle. I'm not sure.
As we go through that, just the photograph of 130, what's this a photograph of?
Wells Fargo receipt. Looks like from an ATM.
And what was the available balance there?
$11,046.85.
131, just more receipts?
Yes.
Looks like this is a receipt from Scottsdale Farm, Inc.
It's a nursery.
All right, now these 133, we're going to head upstairs. Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
$136, you stand at the top of the stairs. Is there a bedroom to your left and a bedroom to your right and a bathroom in the front?
Yes.
$141, did you learn that there were some grandkids basically staying over?
I did.
So we're going to be walking what I'm calling the kids' room.
Right.
There was, what, 3 beds in this room?
Yes.
This would be on the right, I believe, and then the 2 on the left.
Correct.
Then in this room, looking at 145, I'm just calling it Amanda room because there's a picture of Amanda on the side here as reference. And then now going downstairs to the basement, this is 151. What do we have here?
That's the movie room, theater room.
So it's literally a theater room.
Say that, repeat?
Literally, it was a theater
Yes,
room
yes.
to watch movies?
Yes.
All right, now 158, what door are we looking at in this photograph?
That's to his office.
So come down the steps to the basement,
Yes.
go a little bit to the right, go down the hallway, that's going to be his office.
You would come down the stairs, take an immediate right, then a left past the bar, and go to the end of the hallway.
The crime scene technician, Lieutenant Thrasher, now taking this jury to the basement where they believe that the victim in this case, Gary Farris, was killed. The prosecution says by his wife. The defense says it was someone else. Let's get to a break. We'll get you back in for more testimony in the case against Melanie Farris.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
He's in the suitcase still. There are multiple domestic violence incidents.
You two hitting each other.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
He told you, Sarah, I can't breathe.
George Torres locked inside of the suitcase, begging for help.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Let's go back to a Georgia courtroom where we are watching the burn pile murder trial. Defendant is Melanie Farris. She's accused of fatally shooting her husband in July of 2018 and then burning his remains on a burn pit on their property, a sprawling property that we are getting to see an up-close look at through the testimony of the crime scene technician who's on the stand, Lieutenant Thrasher. All of those photos that were taken at the family home, we first saw the picturesque ones of this home when it was likely on the market, but then the home pictures we are seeing now are of this home as it was back in 2018, not too long after investigators discovered this body on the burn pit. Let's go back in. This witness has talked about blood droplets, which the defense says is not necessarily the blood of the victim.
What date were you doing this?
It was July 5th.
And they took a picture of the broken dish there?
Yes.
.177 standing at the office looking back down the hallway towards the living room, if you would, in the
Yes.
bar. Down this hallway, what's going to be down here?
On the far end would have been his bedroom.
.185, what do we have here on Gary, beside Gary's bed?
It's a CPAP machine.
This is 188. How long were you on the property processing everything? We went through it fairly quickly, but I imagine you were there for hours.
I arrived around 3:20 p.m. and then went past midnight. We probably left, I would guess, 1:30 in the morning, the next morning, somewhere around that time.
Long time.
Long time.
What I want to talk about now is, as we go through 189, you taking photographs and going to document what you believe to be blood and clean up?
Yes.
191, is there anything significant in this photograph?
Parallel, if the door were shut, there is a blood droplet what appears to be a blood droplet right there adjacent to the door if it was in a closed position.
How did y'all find it? How did you see it?
I believe in the initial walkthrough, we were told that there was some in that area. So we were just very careful about following, proper protocol and looking very carefully before we went forward.
From this area right here, the steps at the top and the kitchen leading down to the basement, is it, I think 12 steps down, is that right?
Approximately, yes.
192, 193, 194. Just closer up, so what you believe to be blood.
Yes.
195. Have some photograph here of the steps. What catches your attention with these?
The first step, there's just what I would consider a very diluted possible blood stain. It looks the second white pattern from the right. There's an area there that appears to be stained.
All right, so 196. What are these spots here?
Those were darker. We were not sure as to what that was, but anything we would note anything that possibly could be blood stains.
197. Looking back, a different angle. What do we have here?
Correct. The same. There's as you go down the stairs, there were similar dilute patterns and the dark stains on lots of the steps.
Okay, are you talking about these stains here?
Yeah. Yes.
So this right here, what is this to you?
That it could be a attempt at cleanup. It's hard to say.
And then these are other things you're saying could be blood? Is it consistent with blood?
Yes. I mean, it's a little bit darker than I would think, but you can't know without possibly testing.
As we go on down, you're taking closer photographs of these droppings, is that right?
Yes, you get one shot at a crime scene, so you photograph everything you can.
All right, 205, what is this pattern here?
Similar stains, but darker.
Now, how would you think that was consistent with blood being cleaned up?
Possibly. Bloodstain pattern analysis, different substrates, whatever the blood hits, it will react differently. So it, to me, does appear that there was attempt because it's a little bit broader than if it was just a drop.
207, same thing?
Yes.
208, same thing?
Yes.
And then 212, what do we have here?
Just more of the darker stains that we documented.
On 213, what do we see here?
If I'm standing at the bottom of the step, I am looking towards the bar, and to the right corner where the trim ends on the floor, there, I believe there was a stain there. Yes.
This is 214, we're talking about right here?
Yes.
On 234, we're coming back to the wall.
Yes.
And it's going to be a little hard to see here, but what are you picking up here?
There is a stain, a single stain, looks like from the picture approximately a foot off the wall in the middle of the picture as you have it right now.
Right here?
Yes.
So I'm talking about right here.
Correct.
.237, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Is that consistent with a blood pattern?
Yes. The texture of the floor can change the pattern a little bit, but yes.
238, you're going to come back and mark these with evidence markers, is that right?
Correct.
So, but we're talking about this area of the floor?
Yes.
So as we get closer to 241, is this what drew your attention?
Yes.
Now 242, we're here at, what is this thing here in the middle?
It's a floor lamp.
And what's behind it?
That would have been a chair.
And looking down at the side of the floor, what did you take a photograph of?
Just the blood stain adjacent to the floor lamp.
And then 244, another picture?
Yes.
All right. Thrasher 245, tell the jury why it's systematic, it's tedious, and we've talked about that, and the jury knows what's going on, but you take, I guess, bare photographs and you come back and mark them, is that what you do?
Yes.
And why do you do that?
You want to show the scene as you found it. So before you alter it at all, you take photographs initially. And then we will go back and mark items of evidence as we find them.
All right, here we got Thrasher 245, this photograph. Tell us, kind of for the record, from the light itself, where that in front of the ottoman with the marker 1, walk us through the numbering and where it's going to in the photograph.
Okay. So this is in the basement next to that floor lamp. Ahead at the end of the hall was his bedroom. To the right is the bar. So the bloodstain pattern, the drops seem to turn to the right and going, I can't say towards or away from, but the numbers follow a line that lead towards the stairs, and then up the stairs is how we numbered them.
The numbering, 1 starts on this end and 4, that is not, you're not saying 1 was here, then next. It's just,
no, I'm not.
Those are just markers.
Yes.
And you don't know if it started at 4 and came this way or started at 1 and went that way.
Correct.
You just know.
All right, let's bring in our guest who is standing by, criminal defense attorney Eric Puryear. Eric, for everyone at home, we have hit the pause button on that testimony because this is critical. This is key.
Oh, yes.
This is what the prosecution is using to show that this killing happened inside of the home, that Melanie Farris would have had access, obviously, to her home, and that this killing happened in the basement where her husband lived on this separate floor. What do you think about the way they're laying this out in front of the jury?
I think the state is doing a good job of telling the story in a way that helps the jury understand it, keeps their attention, and really kind of sets the narrative that the state is looking for. You see the scene without any sort of modification by the markers showing the individual blood droplets. You see the blood close up. You see it on different surfaces. They really are setting the scene for this, helping that jury understand how it played out according to the state's version of things.
Now, this is a shooting death, Eric, and we're assuming that there would be a lot of blood. You hear some mention from this crime scene technician that there may have been cleanup. But it seems that if there was cleanup, we wouldn't have the droplets, but that's what we see. Now, there was an allegation from the defense that he may have had a dog bite earlier before he died, that's what created this trail. What do you think a jury does with that? Is that a plausible explanation for these droplets?
I don't think that once the jury hears all the evidence, the lack of cleanup of some droplets is really going to matter much in their mind. I think back at the murder cases I've handled where there have been blood droplets, things like that, and in almost every one of those cases, cleanup is never perfectly done. People who allegedly committed a murder tend to be a little frazzled. They tend to leave behind evidence. It's not like they are cleaning with the same diligence a person might have when they're cleaning up their house before holiday guests come over.
Yeah, we kind of can see that just from looking at these crime scene photos that it seems like it's a well-lived-in house. We've got toys from the grandkids on the floor. We've got dishes in the sink. Like, this is where they lived. How do you think the jury handles this separate living? Do you think it's something that counts against the defense or for it, where it seems this couple lived a separate life? They lived on separate floors. They each had their own boyfriend and girlfriend, respectively. And then this killing happens, and everyone is looking at this wife, who it seems we could almost call an estranged wife if they're really not speaking inside of this home.
Yeah, and I think that is something where the jury could see it either way. We may have members of the jury who each see it a different way. Obviously, it speaks to possible motives given the financial situation. But at the same time, the fact that they had been living in their separate quarters in the home for some amount of time, that suggests that this was not the sort of heat of the moment, passion sort of a crime that the state might be alleging. So it could work for the defense, too.
Oh, yeah, that is a good point, that could be something that actually lessens what this could have been, because it's not like she caught him with someone and is upset about it, because she has a boyfriend, he has a girlfriend, and they apparently knew about each other's other partners. Eric, stand by. We do have to get to that break. You're not missing a moment of this testimony that's important inside of the Melanie Farris trial. We have more after this. Back to Court TV Live. We'll get you back to court in just a moment in Georgia in the Melanie Farris trial, but we do have an update out of West Virginia where defendant Natalie Cochran was in court today for a pretrial hearing. Now, Cochran is accused of murdering her husband, Michael Cochran, by allegedly injecting him with insulin. Prosecutors say Cochran killed her husband in order to conceal a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme for which she is currently serving an 11-year sentence in federal prison. Earlier today, Cochran's defense argued that they haven't been able to get certain evidence to their experts regarding the substances that Cochran's husband may have ingested. Take a listen.
We also have an issue involving the experts. I think Mr. Selden will be more knowledgeable about the status of the experts. But all I can tell the court from my standpoint is that since we don't have complete information concerning the substances that Mr. Cochran may have ingested and the list of things that he purchased or consumed or injected, we were stymied, and we still are stymied, in presenting that evidence to our experts.
Now, this is a hearing that we will bring you in its entirety coming up tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. For now, let's get you back into the Georgia courtroom where defendant Melanie Farris is charged in the murder of her husband, Gary. On the stand right now is a crime scene technician who's been testifying about blood droplets found throughout the Farris' home, this on a sprawling multi-million-dollar estate. Let's go back in to hear more.
Looking at one, did you get a close up here for 247?
Yes.
Tell us, describe the what you believe to be blood and the pattern. What is there anything about that from your training experience that tells you anything?
I review these extensively, and if there is a fast motion of blood falling off of something, whether the object or person moving, it will create a distinct pattern with what you saw, the spines that come off the drop. So typically, if it's moving quickly in one direction, the spines will all typically be in that direction. These were more broad, kind of in all directions, which would lend me to think that it was a slower motion and it probably was dropping almost straight down. As I stated before, the texture of what it's falling on affects things too.
Two, same thing, is the same similar type?
Yes.
This is 254. What do we see with this evidence marker 2? Evidence marker 1, now evidence marker 2. Ian?
It's just multiple smaller drops. No real directionality in them.
Again, just straight down.
Seem to be, unless there's a distinct speed to it, they'll generally just look more round.
Now 3, this is evidence marker 3 or EM3.
Yes.
Anything distinctive about this one?
I've looked at that one, and as far as a height goes, that can make a difference. The higher or the more blood volume, it can cause a bigger drop. So the spine's extended further out.
Anything about it being bigger than the other ones? In the size relation?
Yes, so possibly more volume.
And then 4 by the corner there?
Right. Similar. It was a little bit bigger drop as well. There's a void in it. Voids can be from various things. I do know he was potentially shot in a rib. So in that, if someone is shot in a rib or shot in the respiratory system, you can also get the...
Yeah, I think she's about to go outside of her expertise.
Okay.
She's testifying to sustain.
So when you see this spot here, is it different than the other ones?
A little bit. It has a void in it.
And it is located closest to the steps, is that right?
That one was, I believe, at the other corner, the one near the hallway that went down to his bedroom.
Right, let me back up and see. The bar here, and then right here, is this the corner here?
Yes.
All right, 260, we've got some markers here.
We have to hit another break. We'll get you back in for more testimony in this Georgia case after this. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV.
Tonight on closing arguments, prosecutors say she shot her husband and burned his remains on their property. We'll bring you key moments from today's testimony in the burn pile murder trial.
Closing arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
An A-list actor charged in a fatal shooting on a film set.
There is no way for the court to right this wrong.
Victim to verdict with Ted Rollins. Season finale Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We are watching testimony together in Georgia where defendant Melanie Farris is standing trial for murder. Prosecutors believe she killed her husband, a prominent attorney in Atlanta, Gary Farris, and then they say she burned his body at their home in 2018. The defense claims, however, that this investigation is flawed. They say their client couldn't have possibly moved Gary's 300-pound body outside of the house onto that burn pile, and they say no murder weapon was ever recovered from the property. So let's get you back in now. This crime scene technician who's on the stand has been showing this jury blood droplets through the house. Blood droplets the defense said was never tested. There's also a projectile they found in the basement. What else did they find? Let's look.
Could be consistent with blood? Correct. So is that consistent with a cleanup, I guess?
Possibly, yes.
And then spots 8 to 9 up the steps?
Yes.
And 10 at the top of the steps?
Correct.
I'm getting Thrasher 279. Drawing your attention now to this ottoman. Did law enforcement, was it point out to you that something was on the floor?
Yes, one of the detectives had come in, and while we were, Lieutenant Ballard and I were attending to the blood drops, they started looking through the room for he was looking for a possible projectile, and it was found there adjacent to the ottoman.
Another sticker, yeah. So do you want to? 289. And did you collect that projectile?
Yes.
Because it states, Thrasher 289. We just look at that. Any gloves or anything? You want some gloves?
If you have some, if not.
I'm not sure if you have any. If you just want to lift some, just a box. If you just lift the box, that's fine. Okay. All right, if I can take that. Judge, our tenor Davis now states 289.
Okay. Man, bailiff, you'll check the jury room. I'm pretty sure there's some in there. Last time we looked for some, either on the counter or underneath in the cabinet.
Judge, is there a way to switch over? I've got it. I just want to go to the other one.
Tell me what you want to do.
All right, just go to the other one. There may be some gloves in the cabinet, they were saying.
No. Well, we found them in the jury room last time we needed them. Let's let them take them.
Okay. I'll tell you, all I want you to do is if you take the gloves, I'm going to hand it to you. If you can just lay it out flat, like just in the center for me, and then I'll tell me, put it on. Oh, thank you. Is that the line? I think we're good, Judge. We're just trying to get so you can see it. That's perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Got it? Raise your eyebrows. You have a good sized forehead.
All right, so this is
using a dial on the top.
And so we're going to go back through the pictures, but this was the bullet. I think the technical term is a projectile that was found on the floor.
Correct.
And was that properly maintained and stored and then sent to the GBI for testing?
Yes.
And was that the only projectile that you found or law enforcement found in the residence?
In the residence, yes.
And is this the shape it is in and the way it looks is pretty much how it was when you collected it from the floor?
I believe it had a little more of a red substance on it, but
Right.
yes.
All right, Judge, you can go back to the... What's that? Yeah. Turn it off. All right, 279. Right here where I have the mouse, the cursor, is that the projectile?
Yes.
280, a closer view.
Yes.
281, even closer.
Yes.
282.
Yes.
283. And then 285. Now, in relation to where the blood from the steps to where the projectile, was it kind of like a straight angle?
Sort of. It was on the other side of the lamp and a bit under the ottoman edge. But generally speaking, it was, you could construe that it's in the same area.
286, 87. Just another view of it. Now, at this point, when you find this, to your knowledge, had the bullet in the ribs already been found?
I would have to know. I don't believe so, but I can't remember the time frame. If I knew the metadata and the time stamp, I might could give you a better idea.
But you were not involved with the outside part, just the inside?
I did assist with.
We know the timeline of this. It doesn't seem like this crime scene technician has this in her notes immediately, but it's not until 2019, 11 months after this sweep of the house, that bullet was found inside of the rib and the autopsy results were released, and then the defendant was arrested. Let's bring back in criminal defense attorney Eric Puryear. That projectile is a dramatic moment inside of the courtroom. Eric, what do you think about this investigation that took so long to conclude that Melanie Farris, was in fact the suspect?
Well, I always do give prosecutors and police credit when they take their time on things. I think it's a question of whether it might have been done a little bit sooner with that same level of diligence. But speaking from the defense side, I like it when they're thorough. I think too many prosecutors rush things.
Are you concerned that this blood, according to the defense, we haven't gotten there yet, but that it wasn't tested to see whose blood it is, or more information about perhaps what may have made it end up in that location?
Oh, yes, and that is an excellent question. If I were defense counsel, a lot of my cross-examination here and a lot of my closing would focus on why this was not tested, one, to confirm that it is blood, and two, whose blood it is. Given that testing to confirm blood is blood and to do DNA testing on blood is so inexpensive these days. We're looking at a high-profile murder case. We have a lot of things going on, and some simple testing might have avoided defense being able to use that to produce reasonable doubt.
We'll see if we get an explanation from a witness on the stand as to why that did or did not happen. Eric Puryear, thanks so much for your analysis.